Hey y'all, this is Marie from our Okie Homestead. It's one of those, this is like day 4, rainy, overcast, cloudy, nasty looking clouds type of day. And you would think it'd be good for not much of anything, but it is. Number one, we have not had a whole lot of rain through the whole winter. It's been not near as much as what we normally would get. So, not too concerned about it, other than where it floods in my garden. But it's a perfect day to be in the hoop house doing some transplants. It gives the plants a chance to get over being shocky while it's overcast. And also, I ordered a shade cloth that's 50%. I got on Bootstrap Farmer and looked at theirs to figure out how much shade I would need on this hoop house, because here on like a 70-degree day on this south side of the house where it's blocked from most of the wind, which is why I parked it here, because it's the most protected spot on the south side. Because of that, it's already reached over 100 degrees inside of there on a 70-degree day. Can you imagine what it's going to be when it's 100 degrees outside? So I went ahead and got on, like I said, Bootstrap Farmer, and they, according to them, their guide thing that they have, I've never used a shade cloth. I've never had a hoop house. So this is a brand new thing that I'm going to end up doing, kind of like the hoop house, even though I always wanted one. Never even thought you'd have to have shade cloth, but I should have kind of suspected that. That's one reason where I parked my garden, where I placed our garden was where it would get afternoon shade, because I already know from years past when I was growing tomatoes and not doing very well at it, I had them out in full sun through the whole day. So, rainy, overcast day is a good day since I don't have the shade cloth up yet, but I can get it up, if not today, then in the morning. Since, like I said, I've never done any of this before, and with my hoop house, I'm fixing to turn the camera around, just so that anybody that hadn't seen it can see what I'm talking about. My hoop house, I built it like this with this half wall because of the dogs. I was afraid with this plastic, you see, even with the wiggle wire and the edge, that would be enticing for the dogs to chew on, especially at ground level. Plus, you come along with the weed eater to weed eat along your edges, and it would be tearing up the plastic too, with also a chance of actually tearing a hole. I've already done a couple, actually 4, because there were multiples in these cups. That one is so tiny. It's going to be hard on that one, just like this little one. All 4 of these was in one cup. And so I don't want to cut them off. I would rather have the extra tomatoes. And so like this one's got 2 nice sized ones in there. That one I'll leave alone. I may leave, well no, I can go ahead and do those 2. I don't know about that one though, because it's so little. But yeah, I'm just basically, and since I'm going ahead and having to separate them, I'm putting them in the bigger pots that are like 3.5 inch deep, I think. I like my tomato plants in these taller cups anyway. And so, and because they're so young, I'm not burying them too much deeper than where they were at ground level to begin with, just because they're so young. You know, if I was transplanting them and they were like this tall, you know, and I was putting them in the raised bed or in a garden, I would plant deeper than what I did with these. Get these done, and all I did basically, we'll do this big one. These cups are very flexible on the bottom, and so I just kind of push up. You want to, because they're going to have to be separated anyway. Normally when I transplant, I would not want to expose so much roots, but in this situation, I have to expose all those roots. And these are all Romas, and I'm going to have to make more tags, but yeah, I just pull it up out of there. Why did my... And then very carefully start kind of like knocking the dirt apart cautiously, because you see all the roots I just kind of jiggle it some, like vibrating it type deal like that. It's like it doesn't damage the roots so much like that, it seems like. Now pulling them apart, this is gonna be so touchy because that one is so close right on top of that other. Oh look, man, it's coming apart. Just like I said, I kind of try to vibrate it loose some. If you can get them to come apart and have at least most of their roots intact, then you got a pretty good shot of them surviving the shock of doing this to them. Just keep kind of jiggling it. Come on, jiggle loose. Jiggle loose. I'm just kind of supporting the smallest one the most because of the fact that it doesn't have as much of the root system. There we go. All right, I got them separated and they both got a decent amount of roots. So, and when I'm doing this, I want to do this as fast as possible to get them back in the dirt and get them watered. So you want to make sure you have everything handy right there where you need it. You know, you don't want to get called away, get distracted if possible. Don't walk away doing something else and forget to water these after you, and I mean you really got to soak them because you got to make sure and get as much of the roots kind of covered up with soil as possible. It's not good for a whole lot of air to be next to the roots. And I'm not so worried, like I said, about the soil line with these being tomato plants. So these are all in there, and because of the fact that I've already transplanted those and it's been a few minutes, I want to go ahead and try with my water can to just lightly water them. Get some water going in there to push the air out. And you want to make sure and keep them moist for a few days after doing this too, because you sure don't want them to dry out while they're shocky. You can hear the rain coming down outside. This one is like, once it gets a little bit bigger, I'll have to add more dirt in that. It's really nice having a space to be able to do this without having a big mess in my house. Then I have, oh look, there's 3 of them in that one. That's awesome. I'm going to end up quite a few Romas, and that's awesome too. Because I'm hoping these Romas do really well, and I can make some paste. And it's kind of the same deal, even though it's 3 of them. You just kind of like gently knock as much of that dirt loose as you can. Just nice and gentle. You can kind of roll them around and kind of knock the dirt and some of them bigger chunks of wood that's in there. So, I'm hoping that shade cloth is going to rectify a lot of that situation. And see, looking at them, normally they'd be like, well, you just trim off, you know, snip off your extras. But some of these, for whatever reason, have not really germinated that great. And so I'm taking in full advantage, like I said, of every single plant, vegetable-wise. If I can at all transplant it and give it its bigger space and not have it crowded with the other ones, then that's what I do. Like these here, look at the size difference in that. They germinated a little bit separate. This one is going to draw so much out that this one's not going to have a fighting chance. And the same thing with this one. You know, if they caught up, even if it did get a chance to catch up, it's still not going to do as well as the bigger one, most likely. So, because I'm already doing this, I'm going to go ahead and separate these out. There's 5 of them total. This one, I'm just going to pull the whole thing out and stick it in there and hope I don't have a second one sprout. But these other ones, I'm going to go ahead and separate. which should be pretty easy since one's big and one's little. Notice I said should be, because there seems like there's always an exception to the rule. So, like I said, just nice and gently. My main thing is trying to make sure that this little one comes out of this with a decent amount of roots if possible. And it is like buried itself way up in there. This thing would not, it may not make it because it don't have much of a root system, honestly. And I'm not burying it super deep. I'm trying to stay as close to what the soil line was with it. Where these bigger ones, I'm going ahead and I'm not super concerned about the soil line with the tomato plants, since they can be buried deeper than the soil line and just makes them stronger as they develop more roots. So got a couple more. I'll take the tiniest one out first. Go ahead and get that one done. Just, I don't know, maybe I should have went ahead and got the other one first. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Woo! That's about the only way I could get that one to do that. That was luck. Because it just fell right out in the palm of my hand. I had no idea where it was at. I was hoping it was still right there at the top. So, man, that one's got even less of a root system. Wow. Really mostly empty. This is kind of one of them deals where, yeah, you might lose one or two, but you'll gain more than what you would lose by separating them out than that, like that, and instead of just snipping off your extras. I don't really want to do that when I'm trying to conserve as much as possible. Oh, looky there. Got a seed head right on the top of this one. Let's see if I can get it to come off. There we go. Because it gets any bigger than that, it's just going to be that much harder to do. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle. Yeah, that's nice. That little tiny one's got a nice root system on it. Look at that. I am sure glad I ordered these from M.I. Gardener. I think the only place I think I've ordered seeds from so far has been M.I. Gardener. And I've been happy with everything I've gotten from them. I don't like being out here when it's thundering like that though, and storming. I mean, it's not too much different than being in the house, except I have no protection, really. Alright, since the storm has picked up, I'm going to call it quits. I don't really want to be out here while it's thundering and lightning like that. So, you see what I did? I'm fixing to water the rest of these, and then I'll come out later when the storm passes over and go ahead and get these transplanted. So I'll go from having, it was 2 6-packs, There's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. From 12, that takes me from what would have been 12 plants to 21. So that's awesome. That's if they all survive. So them little tiny ones, I don't know, 1 or 2 of them. One of them really doesn't have much of a root system, so we'll see. That is a portulaca. I'm pretty sure that's a portulaca in there at that onion. And it's been getting so hot in here, the onions don't like how hot it's been on a lot of this stuff because of being in zone 7B. It gives me a lot of leeway. The cool weather stuff, not so much. I'm gonna get back in the house. I don't like this thunder and lightning business. So, y'all have a good one.